Go ahead.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Bloodgood. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Education with Newtown Creek Alliance. I live really close to the school, so happy to always be talking with you guys personally and professionally. I've been volunteering with your school for a long time now. I guess in 2011 I started working with you guys, so I don't know. Maybe not you guys directly, but the school. So I'm very happy to be able to lend my knowledge and expertise in any way that is needed or helpful. So I work for an environmental nonprofit, and if you don't know, Newtown Creek is the waterway that separates North Brooklyn and Western Queens. It's 4 miles long. It's all industrial all around it, but part of the work that I do is try and bring restoration and opportunities for ecological habitat, and I'm always looking for places where I can build gardens or restore anything that's natural. So that's some of what I do. I'm a big plant nerd. I even have dried plants framed in my bedroom. That's how much I love plants.
This is really cool.
I hope so. I also have teenagers, and sometimes they think I'm cool and sometimes they think I'm not, but I guess that's what happens. So anything you guys want to ask me, please ask me. I'm super excited to have this conversation. So whoever is asking questions, let's do this.
Hi, Ms. Lisa. My name is Diamond. I am part of the Vacant Lot beautification. So I'm going to show you how our plan looks so far.
Great. Can you tell me which vacant lot this is? Is it a real one or a hypothetical one?
It's a real one in Staten Island.
Oh, perfect.
On Netherland Avenue and Van Name Avenue.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, you can see my screen?
Yeah, could you make it a little bit bigger though?
Yes. Okay, it's like a 3D version.
Oh.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. And you built this?
Yeah, me and my team.
Well done, team.
Thank you. The chairs are there just to see which ones we should put and which ones we should leave.
It's really good. Is that a wedding?
Oh no, it's like a gazebo, the seating area to eat.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I guess relax. Yeah. But I had a question about the vegetation area because I don't really know about gardening.
Mm-hmm.
So what type of plants and fruits and vegetables would you put in the winter time?
Right. So, well, the first question to ask is how much sun does this vacant lot get? So if it's completely surrounded by buildings and it doesn't get a lot of sun, then you want to really be looking for shade plants. So a good way to think about that is if you were to go into the forest, anything that's growing on the forest floor, it's all shade all the time, pretty much. So that's one way to think about it. But if you get full sun, then you have a lot of options because most plants like a lot of sun. So do you know if you get more shade or more sun?
Well, the vacant lot is in a residential area, so not by it's by houses. So I'm guessing it gets sun, not a lot, but probably a good amount.
Right. So probably 6 hours of the day, there's sun shining on that. So anytime you get 6 hours of sun, that means it's full sun. Those are the conditions. So you could plan pretty much anything. If you want to grow food, you can grow food in that kind of lighting. So that's great. So if you have full sun and you want to grow food, or do you want to grow just flowers, what is the aesthetic or what's the goal with the space?
The goal would be like a farmer's market / garden. So like fruits, vegetables, and plants.
Mm-hmm.
So like the residents will come and they could grow their plants or their food in the garden.
So it's going to be a mix of maybe beautiful flowers that maybe you could sell at the market or that just look good and are, some food for bees to come and nectar at, or a combination of different fruits and vegetables. So something that I always like to try and get like my garden to do, because I'm a part of a community garden actually in Southside Williamsburg. It's called La Casita Verde. If anybody wants to come check it out, we're open on the weekends most of the time. But I like to do plants that are perennial, which means they come back year after year, as opposed to annual, which you have to plant at the beginning of every season. So plants like tomatoes or corn or stuff that like is your produce a lot of the time, those are annual plants. But there are a lot of really cool perennial plants, meaning they come back year after year, that also produce food. And so like blueberry bushes, which there's really low blueberry bushes and there's also really tall blueberry bushes. That depends. You can get both kinds. They'll come back year after year. And so if you wanted to do like a row of blueberry bushes, that could be a very cool thing to do. Same with like blackberries or raspberries. They grow on vines with lots and lots of thorns. So you want to have them back away from where people might be hanging out and playing.
Yeah.
But they'll come back year after year. Same with grapes. Grapes are another great thing to put like on. You could even have grapes maybe growing on those trellises at your gazebos. That could be kind of cool.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah. What else is really interesting? Oh, there are these plants. They're called sunchokes. You can find them at like fancy grocery stores, but they're native to the Northeast and North America. And so the native indigenous people, Lenape people, they had sunchokes were a big part of their diet. And so they're a root. And so you have to pull the plant up. It grows like 12 feet tall. And it's like beautiful little sunflowers at the very top. So you could have like a big row of sunchokes, maybe like back up against a wall or something. Sunchokes would be a lot of fun. I'm always trying to think of like what plants are from this area that people don't often think about. So that's always like what I'm most interested in. What else is kind of cool? Have you ever heard of a pawpaw tree?
No, I haven't.
So that's another, it's a tree, and it's also native to this area and was a big food source for indigenous people. But you don't see pawpaw trees or pawpaw fruit in grocery stores because they don't travel very well. So if you were to pick it, by the time it got to the grocery store, it'd probably turn into mush. But it's a very cool thing to have at a garden. And there is a swallowtail butterfly that its sole food is the leaves of the pawpaw tree. So you can't have this one kind of butterfly without the pawpaw tree. So that's another cool thing you might want to look up. I only know of a couple of pawpaw trees that grow in a garden in Long Island City, but I want some in my garden too. What else? Is this am I giving you good information?
Yeah, I have another question.
Yeah.
I know that some flowers doesn't grow well next to each other. So do you know any types that do grow well next to each other?
Oh, like companion planting kind of stuff?
Yes.
So, yeah, I like to think about like how does the plant share space? So, have you heard of like a monocot or a dicot? Are you familiar with those words?
No. How do you spell it so I could put in my notes?
So monocot is M-O. I can't spell out loud. I have to write it. Hold on one second. Monocot. So monocot is MONOCOT. Monocot.
Okay.
And dicot is the same. It's just DICOT. So these are the types of plants. So this is maybe a little bit more information that you need, but some plants are monocots and some plants are dicots, and it's all about what their seeds look like. And so everybody's seen a bean, right? And you know you could split the bean in two, right?
Yeah.
So that's a dicot. It just means the seed splits in two, and a monocot is just one. It doesn't have that other half. But what's really interesting about it and how this relates to your question is that all monocots, their root systems are like a big fibrous mat, and all dicots have a taproot that just goes straight down. And so if you want to plant a monocot and a dicot next to each other, you never see this, but under the surface, under the soil, the plants take up different space. And so they work really well next to each other because they're not competing for resources. But if you had all plants with fibrous roots, they're competing for those same nutrients. And so they're not really good companion plants. So if you can find, like, you want a bunch of dicots or you want a monocot dicot combo, it's really all about their root systems. So above ground, it's kind of the same thing. You want to try and get plants that fill in the different like space niches. So you want like a ground, like a low plant. And then you can have one that's like, oh, it likes to live in the space that's like 1 feet to 3 feet above ground. And then you maybe want to have like a shrub or a little low bush that lives in that like 3 feet to 5 foot space. And then you want to also think about what are the light needs of those plants. So sometimes if a plant likes a little bit of shade, you plant it next to a shrub or something that it's not going to shade it totally, but it'll provide a little bit more of the cover that it needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. So that's a really good way to think about companion planting as like a basic, because companion planting can get really complicated and have to do with like so many other things, including like, are there fungal associations as well? So a lot of times a plant can't survive unless it has a fungal partner. So that means it partners up with a type of a mushroom, not the mushroom fruit that people know and people eat, but a mushroom that actually will, it like forms a mutualistic relationship with the plant. And they end up not being able to live without each other. But some plants like some types of fungal relationships and some types like others. And so the more you kind of like get into companion planting, the more you realize, oh, it's actually really, really can be very complicated. Just like human relationships, plants have really complicated relationships as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question about the compost area.
Yeah.
I'm gonna zoom in. The compost area is right here.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. I gotta learn how to make these kinds of illustrations too. This is so great.
Oh yeah, I like this app a lot. Yeah, I have little people.
I know.
Look realistic.
I was laughing at the guy with the suit. Like, what is he so mad
Oh,
about?
There's a guy standing in the air.
yeah. I'm supposed to fix that.
He's
And that's
leaving
the back.
party. Okay, so what's your question about the compost?
How much square feet would you accommodate for the compost bed? I don't want to have too much.
Yeah. So, yeah, what we have, so you have a 3-bin system. Is that what I'm seeing there?
Yeah.
And
This isn't like realistic. We just need like something to put there just for now.
right. So it's those 3 boxes you're talking about as the compost, not the other 2 things next to it?
Yeah, that's the bathrooms, the 3 boxes right here.
Okay. So that's a good, I guess, like approximation of what it could look like. You probably don't want it up off the ground. I mean, it might, I don't know, whatever. But the bins that we have at my community garden, the one I mentioned earlier, La Casita Verde, we have 6 we have 6 bins. Each bin is probably like 4 feet tall and are 3 feet by 3 feet. And then, yeah, I think that's like a good amount of space, 3 feet wide by 3 feet long.
Okay.
And yeah. But something we do at my garden, which I think is really interesting and I had not heard of before I joined this garden, we have what's called a static pile. And we have a solar panel, which we've plugged into a small motor, which every minute blows like 30 seconds worth of air, or I don't know, maybe it's every 5 minutes it blows 30 seconds worth of air. But it's just adding oxygen into that pile so that you don't have to turn it. So it like takes away almost all of the work, because without that air being blown into it, we would have to physically come and turn it multiple times so that we make sure the air gets into it so it doesn't like become an anaerobic process and then it starts to stink and then you get all these problems.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to consider putting a solar panel somewhere which could power that motor, which gets rid of all the work that you have to do, it might be a worthwhile thing to include in your design. And then maybe, you could have some energy to plug in for some music or some power tools or something else. So just if you're not thinking about that, it's a cool thing to add. But I think as far as like the space needs, that's pretty good. The one thing I might add to it is to have like an area to sift out your finished compost.
Okay.
So when you pull it out of the bin, it's probably almost all the way finished, but you're probably still going to have like some wood chips in there, or maybe like an avocado pit that didn't break down all the way. And so you want to take that stuff out and put it back in the first bin. So just like maybe you want to have, we call it like our finished pile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a website of your garden? I'd like to see your layout.
Yeah, La Casita Verde.
How do you spell that?
Org. I'll put it, you know what? Let me just grab a link real quick and I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
And if any of you ever want to come and visit the garden, touch and I'd like give you a tour or whatever. Oh my God, where is the chat?
Are the plants you tell me about on your website?
Nope.
Okay.
I wonder though, there are like all these great guides for, community gardeners or for just regular gardeners that aren't looking to grow food. Have you guys looked at the Green Thumb website at all?
No, I haven't, but I was gonna get to it.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably have some good resources too. But if you're still looking for more, your teacher can put you in touch with me, and I'd be happy to send you anything.
Okay, I would love that.
Mhm. I'll put my email in the chat too, so that if anybody just wants to ask me anything, I'm around.
Okay, if you want to share your screen, that's fine too.
No, you don't want to see my screen, my desktop.
Okay.
So that's my email. This is my name.
Okay, thank you.
And don't anybody feel intimidated to email me and ask me a million questions. I am very easy to talk to.
Okay, I got your email and your website. Do you think the bathroom is like at a good location in the lot?
Is that, yeah, totally. You don't want them like taking up space. You kind of want to put them in the back. It's probably like a porta potty, whatever.
Yeah, it'll be a porta potty.
Yeah. The only thing is that to think about is that it will need to get serviced, which means there's a truck that comes and like gross hose that pumps that stuff out. So you want to make sure that any truck that's going to come onto site isn't going to ruin a plant. You want to make sure that those porta potties are accessible to the maintenance team.
Okay. It's not a lot. We're still fixing it. Do you have any suggestions about like the seating area, like any benches or where you would put a table so I can add it here?
I think what you've got looks really great. People want to be, out of the sun and out of the rain. But also, people like to be in the sun and in the rain too. So just having a variety of things is a really good way to go. Thank you. But I think it's just so long as you have different options in different places to suit the different needs that people might have. Sometimes people are going to want to come with their whole family or 20 of their closest friends and have a dance party in the garden or whatever. But then sometimes somebody might want to just go and read their book quietly, like under a tree or something. And so you want to try and make sure that there's space for everybody, young and old, loud or quiet, gardening or just enjoying the outdoors.
Okay, I want to show you one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
We made a Miro board.
Yes. Miro boards are great.
Okay. Okay, sorry, one moment.
While she's getting that, are there other projects that you guys want me to look at as well? It's just so I know. Is this the only one?
Hello. Hi, my name is Mekhi. Just like Diamond's team, my team was also working on a vacant lot beautification, and we're actually doing a garden as well.
Oh, cool.
So, I guess when Diamond finishes showing what she has to show my team, and I would like to go and get any feedback you may or may not have.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry, it's hard to. Okay, it's over here. So we tried to make the lot very like privately as we can.
Yeah.
It's like a map of the lot. There's no entrances. Land name and Netherland Avenue. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little hard to read, like, what's actually on that drawing, but I can see it.
Okay, it's just like a sketch of the egress.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna find the picture of the lot. This is a picture of the lot. Right here.
Oh, interesting. So it's almost like a dead end, but also on a main street.
Yes.
Weird. What a cool place.
Weird. So our Miro board. We made bubble diagrams.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Mekhi, if you want to go, you can go now.
Did you have a question about this, or you just want to show it?
And I'll just show you how the lot looks, like the picture of the lot.
Right. This is great. You guys have done so much work.
Yes, we did.
Are you guys actually going to transform this vacant lot, or it's just an exercise?
I think it's an exercise. I'm not really sure.
Cool.
But I'll be working at the community garden at my school this year.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I'm excited to have you guys think about how to design that too.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's something we could talk more with Mr. Codio about.
Okay. Mekhi?
Okay, you're finished?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Diamond. So as I said, my team and we also worked on the vacant lot redesigning beautification. So in my team, there's me, Mekhi Brown, my partner Ryan Singh, our other partner Savi Currency, and we have another partner named Myra Gomez, but unfortunately she couldn't present today. So, but we also worked on the Miro board as well. But I can't present, so I'm gonna ask if either Ryan or Savi could present, or maybe Mr. Rodriguez or Mr. Kustner.
I could present for you since I was already there.
Oh, okay. If you don't mind, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll go. Okay, where do you want to go?
All right. Actually, focusing in that part right there. If you don't mind, I'll just navigate you every now and then.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. So once again, hello. My name is Mekhi Brown. As the picture that you see earlier, the picture that you saw before was an overview image of where the vacant lot is, just a little bit of the surrounding area, and surrounding it, above it, and even to its left, and even to the left of it, you see that there are some bubble diagrams that my team and I worked on. You see that there are 4 bubble diagrams in a row, starting with the top one, and then there's one at the bottom. The bottom one is the most recent one. That's the one that we kind of came on a consensus on. As you can see, it's kind of similar to what Diamond's team did, But there's a walkway right down the middle, and then like one side is specific for the garden area. But then on the other side, what we decided to do, we want to add kind of like a food stand or like an event space where people can go and get some food, whether it be snacks or they have, maybe a barbecue, and we even have some eating areas designated.
Mm-hmm.
So, Diamond, if you can go like to the right.
Keep going.
Stop. If you could like zoom in a little bit, we can see what like those posters are. Those blue green one, and then like next to it, there's like a list. Or actually, this is good. Just scroll a little bit more to the right. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier and for the past few days, I've done a little bit of research on some plants that my team and I that we wanted to incorporate in our design. So we wanted to focus on annual plants like evergreen plants, but we really want to focus on plants or flowers that that can, even if they die, they can grow back over time and that don't require as much maintenance. So I have a few actually. For example, the first one, they're Azalea Shrubs, and I took some notes. In the spring they're red, in the fall they're red. They have red foliage, and they have evergreen leaves in the winter. I chose that one because the changing colors and the way that they match the season actually works really well, complements the vacant lot, and it shows that it's changing. So the one after that is I couldn't pronounce that one, but it's
I can't actually read it. It's a little too small still.
Which one?
the second one, or if you could like zoom in a little bit.
This one?
No, go the other way.
Oh,
I think that list, right?
Yeah, right there, but the links below.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. This one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that's Pierre's Japonica. As I said, I couldn't really pronounce it. I didn't want to butcher it, but that's what I read it as. So the notes that I took was that it blooms in the early spring with the foliage of an orange-bronze color. It has red flower buds, but it blooms into white clusters during the winter. Kind of the same as the Azalea Shrubs, where it changes over time, and I feel that it complements the vacant lot well. So that way, it never looks the same as well.
Yeah. And then the other one is a heath, right? It's like what is it called? That's like an Irish Highlands European plant. That one, it's real pretty. I feel like it's sold in like where you can buy little pots of flowers, like at the grocery store or something. That one will be there a lot. It's really pretty. So really quickly, the azaleas are great because they are indigenous to this region. If you're looking for things that you don't have to take care of very much, that will come back year after year, they're going to change with the seasons, but also kind of be evergreen azaleas and plants, not just that are like azaleas, but that are native to this region, are a really great place to go. So the second plant that you have, I also don't know how to say that first name. So this is like the genus species. This is the like binomial nomenclature. So the scientific name of the plant, right? The first one you have, it says Azalea Shrubs. That's the common name. The second one you have that's the scientific name. And so if you see it says Japonica, that looks like the word Japan. That plant is not from here. This is going to be a plant that's from Japan or maybe more broadly Asia. And so it may be a beautiful plant and it may be actually problematic if you were to try and plant it here for a lot of different reasons. But I would always, as a rule, stay away from plants, especially from like Asiatic regions, not because they're not beautiful plants, not because, they're not really important in their own ecosystem, but because basically, if you think about it, North America and Asia couldn't be more removed from each other globally. And so how these plants evolved, they're very, very different. And so oftentimes all of the invasive and problematic plants in North America come from Asia and vice versa. When they have problematic plants that are destroying ecosystems because they, grow unchecked, they're going to be from North America. So it's this real big problem that we, landscapers, ecologists, environmentalists, and designers have to really pay close attention to, because if we're bringing potentially invasive species into our communities and into our ecosystems, we could be doing a lot of damage. But there are mountain laurels that are native to New York and to the Catskills, and they are stunningly beautiful. I love them so much. I can't think of the scientific name. They bloom in like May and June. The problem is they don't like the heat. And so they might not do well in an urban setting. But you should look more into what the native mountain laurels are, because I love them so much. I always get really sad if I haven't had a chance to go into the Catskills in May or June, which is most years, because the opportunity to see them in bloom is really spectacular. And it's the same kind of thing for that next plant. It doesn't say it in its scientific or even common name, but those heaths are not native to North America. So those are going to be low-lying evergreen ground covers. There are other options for that sort of thing, but I think I'd have to think about what's a good alternative. Oh, I'm just realizing that you do have a photo of the mountain laurels that are in the Catskills, kind of right by where your little mouse hand is, those pink flowers. So I wonder if you have the right image and maybe the wrong scientific name. Gosh, I'm blanking on what the actual name of these mountain laurels are, but I will make a point to give you guys some really good resources for native perennial plants, because that's really what you want for not a lot of maintenance needs. They do really well. Just once they're established, you just leave them alone. And then there's a lot of really beautiful annual or year-round foliage and stuff like that. That's possible to get. So I'll send you those resources so that you have it'd just be easier to select from, because it can get kind of weird and complicated if you're not really familiar with what's what.
Yeah, thank you. That was one of my concerns, especially when doing my research. I wasn't really sure if I should focus on the native plants, especially for the Staten Island garden, or if I could just use any plant. So when you saying that answers one of my questions that I actually had later on. So thank you, and also thank you in advance for sharing the link with me for my team and I to do research. So yeah, also. As far as the rest of the layout goes for my team's vacant lot design, as you can see, we kind of have this very narrow walkway. I was wondering if maybe you had any suggestions on what we could do with that. Maybe should we keep it that narrow, that's straight down the middle, or should we have it go in different ways to kind of ease the traffic flow that may occur within the garden?
That's a great question. Narrow walkways are nice when you're by yourself or on a date and you want to have an intimate moment. But when you're having more of a public gathering space, they can kind of be an issue when you want people to walk on the path and not off the path. But what if people are walking in, two different ways at the same time? You have to figure out who's stopping, who's going to let who walk by. There's this weird moment that happens when you're in that space. So making sure that it's wide enough to accommodate maybe like 2 people walking in different directions at the same time, or just maybe having it so that there are different options when you're walking. So maybe you walk in from the dead end street, and maybe ultimately your goal is to walk straight through, but maybe you want to like take a right and look at a planted area over here. And so maybe your path is going to branch off in different ways. Maybe it even looks like, the branches of a tree or something. Maybe there's some way you could mimic the way the plants look, or something within your path design, just as like a random idea. I don't know. But you just want to make sure that you're not making your path too narrow, especially if you want to have, people using the space. But in general, a path down the middle is great. I mean, that's your thoroughfare, and you're really wanting people to, seems like connect one way to another. So maybe it's like people that live on that dead end street, that's their commuting path or something. So like also thinking about how people are going to use the space, which is sometimes different than how the space is designed to be used. You guys ever notice that? Like, oh, clearly they designed this to be whatever, uses it for something totally different. It's something to think about, like, what are people actually going to do here? Not what do I want people to do here?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, because my team, our design is like I'm not exactly, I don't know all of what Diamond and her team are doing, but like my team, we wanted it to be we wanted our design to be an event space where people can come and lounge, but like not just a certain amount of people at a time because we're afraid of the traffic flow. So we actually started discussing that yesterday, my team and I, about changing our bubble diagram to the point where it's not just one narrow, straight down walkway, but a series of walkways that kind of intertwine with one another. So that way, it can feel like an event space. So another. Oh, sorry.
That sounds great. Yep.
Thank you. So another question I was going to ask was, I know you mentioned powering, for watering the plant, like powering by solar, or would you suggest rainwater collection is still a good method?
I definitely think rainwater collection is really helpful and really useful. Is there a fire hydrant nearby, or is there other access to a water source? Because if there's not, then you have to capture rainwater, because especially once you hit July and August and it's 100 degrees and it doesn't rain for 2 weeks, you will lose plants if you can't water them. So having a water source is crucial.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's also another aspect that my team and I were discussing was the plants they need to be watered. So another question that I have is, do you have any recommendations for having plants or any flowers that people may be allergic to? Is there any way that we can avoid any of that?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's a lot of misconceptions about plants and allergies. So like there's one plant, goldenrod. Actually, that is the goldenrod. There's like 150 different kinds that grow all over North America, but a lot of people associate their allergies with goldenrod because it blooms at the same time that the real threat to people's allergies are. And so ragweed is wind pollinated. Goldenrod is pollinated. So any wind pollinated plants you probably are not going to want to have, because those are the ones that trigger allergies. When it's pollinated, which just means that the plant is pollinated by a bee or maybe a butterfly or a bird or a moth, that pollen is heavier and it's stickier, and it wants to just grab onto the bee's leg or whatever. It does not want to be carried away by the wind. And it's those plants that are wind pollinated, trees, grasses, ragweed. Those are the ones that really contribute to bad allergies. So it's not really your flowers that you have to worry about. And if anybody ever tells you, I get allergies from these flowers, you really have to think about, well, is that really what their allergy is coming from? Or is it maybe something else? Because chances are it is not those flowers. They could be allergic to it for another reason. Like my sister randomly one year, probably for like 5 or 6 years, she just all of a sudden developed an allergy to strawberries. Don't know why. And then it went away. Don't know why. So sometimes that's also, something to think about. But yeah, stay away from wind pollinating plants.
Oh, okay, thank you. My partners who are here, Savi, Currency, and Ryan Singh, they actually have some questions for you as well.
Cool. Bring it on.
Hi, sorry, my background's a little noisy. One of the things that my group thinks is really important to have is composting. We think it's very vital for the soil health. We were thinking of a few methods. One was like the aerated static pile. I know it's like kind of good because we can implement like solar, but we're not too sure if it would be effective, especially since it's like a small space.
Mm-hmm. Like just having that static aerated pile, you don't know if that's efficient if you just like have one bin or something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't want to do it if you just have like, the tumbler compost that's behind your school on Havemeyer.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, you wouldn't want to have that be like, it's just like such a small amount. It wouldn't make sense. But gosh, I guess how much space are you willing to dedicate to it? And, how much money do you have? Because if, you had a couple $1,000s to burn, then you can get one of these things. It's called a rocket. You guys know Domino Park on the Williamsburg waterfront?
Yeah.
So they have a rocket there, which is just like, it kind of looks just like a rocket, but it can process your compost in like a day or two. It's really, really fast. But it's expensive and not something that I couldn't afford it. My community garden couldn't afford it. But if you have money and you're interested in making that investment, maybe that's something to consider. You guys can just do a little research on what is some, innovative, small scale, high capacity composting technologies. Because I think that people are really interested in this very question. So there's probably more out there to learn. Have you guys, do you know of Red Hook Farms? There's urban farm community garden kind of situated down in Red Hook. And there's a young guy there. I'm blanking his name. Oh gosh. He just won this award for, really being a composting advocate. And I bet you could probably reach out to him, and he probably would have some great, exciting things to share with you guys. I know that's not a lot of information. Go find that guy in Red Hook and ask him. But maybe I can find his name and his contact and try and connect you to him if you're interested, because I think, he would be a really amazing resource for this exact conversation. But I
Great,
also, on a different level, I saw recently there was somebody had made some sort of like, you get on your bicycle and you pedal, and that like either could blow air into your system, or you put this other contraption on it and it spins it so that that sifting process is much faster. I guess that's just to say that there's like so many different things out there that could work.